Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wrestling Royalty and Gimme a Hell Yeah for our Friday feature. And tonight we are going to be talking about Jey Uso and is he actually the main event? Always keen to hear what you guys have got to say, and let me know in the comments straight away. What are your thoughts on Jey Uso? And the reason why we're going to be covering this is because he's been picking up a good few wins recently. Chief on Monday, he managed to defeat Ilya Dragunov in the King of the Ring tournament, which means he's going to be going through to the semi-finals and has a chance to go all the way to Saudi and claim the King of the Ring crown, throne, what you're going to call it. So I thought it was a good time to have a chat because he seems to be getting a good push. He's had a title shot recently, and obviously since going solo, and as I said in there, no pun intended by that, it's a very interesting one to hear people's reactions as to whether Jey Uso is indeed a main eventer or a main event player, main event superstar. So let me know in the comments, and I'll go through them as and when they come through. We'll have a chat about it, and that's basically what we're here tonight. You might have seen I just put up there at the beginning of the stream that the stream is in memory of Jody Gilly. Now, obviously, Jody is someone who is a good friend of Gimme a Hell Yeah in particular, and basically there was some very sad news came through that Jody's no longer with us, and someone who has worked a number of times with Dom on Gimme a Hell Yeah and the Insiders. So our respects and thoughts go to her and her family. It's what an incredibly sad time, but wanted to give her some sort of dedication there at the beginning. Before we started anything as well, and just explain what that was for. She was a big Bray Wyatt fan, and will be sorely missed in a lot of circles. And our thoughts to her family at this time as well. And I know that's a bit of a somber way to start the show. I've also do have a guest, so I'll bring him in. Hopefully, he can bring a little bit more energy there. I'll bring in Sam. Sam, as I was just saying, just a bit of a dedication to Jody there, who's a good friend of Dom's. I don't know if you've seen on Twitter that sadly she has passed away, part of the Insiders. So there's a little dedication there, but apologies for springing that on you. I can tell by your face it's not something that you'd seen.
I saw something on Twitter. I just thought it was a shout out because people like giving shout outs. I didn't realize it was that. So that's thrown me completely. I'm gonna have to, when I come off here, I'll have a proper look. I'm sorry. Apologies. I was in the middle of writing a feature, so that's why I didn't understand you. And it's been a very long day, so I haven't really. When you said bring the energy, I wouldn't count on it.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But I'll do my best. I will. I'll do my best, and even after that shocking information you shared with me.
And obviously, she worked a lot with Dom. Because Dom's such a big Bray Wyatt fan and was part of that community. So, that's the kind of the link there. But as I say, we will move on. But our thoughts are with, Jody's family at this time in particular. But tonight we are going to be covering that. And I'm sure Dom will have some things to say when he's next on his Howdy Hangouts. Give him some space, give him some time. I'm sure he'll kind of he'll address that situation. But we are talking tonight about Jey Uso. Very simple question: is he a main event WWE superstar? He's on the back of a couple of big wins, big matches. He's getting a lot of respect from the WWE universe as well. A link to Bray Wyatt. He seems to be steering into this kind of Firefly thing. I'm not really sure where the link came from. I thought it was quite a spontaneous thing that the French crowd did, but seems to have come across the Atlantic when they went back to the US. So his entrances are looking pretty spectacular these days. Now, we are going to get into it a little bit more as we go on, but Sam, straight away, big question for you: is Jey Uso a main event superstar?
Here's the thing: I don't know, because when he comes out with this new entrance. And things like that, it's like look what happened on Raw the other night, and look what happened at Backlash. That was a big deal, and obviously the Yeet stuff is working for him clearly. He's had some matches that have been a bit lackluster. He's had others that have been great. So I'm not going to criticize him there. I think he's got everything he needs in that department. I think the one thing that hurts him is the one thing that's made him a massive star, and that we see him as a twin. We see him as a duo with Jimmy, and we've seen that for so long in so many different guises that we're so conditioned to seeing that. When you separate them, it seems to me a little bit impossible to then not go, yeah, but what about the other one? Even though it shouldn't matter, because a star is a star, it doesn't matter what other people are doing, regardless of the connection between them. It does make you think, yeah, but what about the other one? If he's a big star, it seems that he's intrinsically linked to his twin brother, and which is the thing that has been a major boon to him throughout his career, of course, and to Jimmy as well. But it also seems to be something that's always hanging over him. So, to answer your question, the best way I know how, I don't think he's ever going to be on the level of like Roman Reigns or Cody or anyone you might think is a big top star in WWE. I don't think he's ever going to have a championship run in the way that Roman or Cody might, or Lesnar or someone like that.
Yeah,
Daniel Bryan but. Is he a top star? Well, yeah, just look at him. Look at the entrance. Look at what's happening right now. He's already made it. He's already there. But in terms of, is it going to be sustainable long term with him as a single star? I think he's always going to be sucked back into that stuff with Jimmy. And I actually don't think that's a bad thing either. I think the storyline with him and his brother, with them finding their way back to each other, and maybe even joining forces with Roman or Sammy or whoever it's going to be to take down this new version of the Bloodline. I actually find that more interesting than just him having a solo run and carrying a belt around on his own for a while. That's just me. I'm all about the story with these things. And to me, that's the best way to use Jey Uso, and the best way I will remember Jey Uso is in a story like that. Will we see him going to the Hall of Fame on his own one day? Right, I'm not so sure. Will we see him in the Hall of Fame as a member of the Usos or the Bloodline? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to kind of unpick there in terms of your thoughts there, because I think through discussions I've had with people, for me, one of the things that he's lacking to really kind of push into that next echelon, he's got the t-shirt, he's got the catchphrase, he's got the cool entrance. He's missing some individual singles moves from his moveset to really set him apart. Because, quite frankly, right now, if you watch him, it's super kick, splash, spear.
Yeah.
And his spear, let's face it, if you're going to put it up against Bron Breakker, for example, like, it doesn't stand up. It doesn't stand up to Roman's. So for him to be taken seriously as a singles competitor, as a main event competitor, I feel like he's missing a submission move. He's missing an impact finish move as well. That's like, because I feel like the splash, even when it was a tag team move that he did with Jimmy, still wasn't one of the better finishes. And to carry that through, it just feels a bit okay. Yeah, for me, moveset is a really important one to kind of like move him into a singles competitor. Otherwise, he's just the half of a that bigger whole of the Usos. But yeah, let us know in the comments as we go through this. Let us know your thoughts. Is there something that he's missing? Is there something you would add to kind of really push him on? Because as Sam just said there, can he ever really be taken seriously in regards to someone like Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns, or maybe even a Gunther who's kind of on his way to that main event status as well? Because I think no one's going to go for anywhere to say Jey Uso is on a level with John Cena or Stone Cold, who are bona fide main eventers. But what is he missing to get there? What does he have to do? So yeah, we'll kind of go through it as and when. But I guess the next question I'm going to have for you is, when we've seen tag teams split up and people go their own way, who is a shining example of they were a tag team guy and then they ended up being a very, very good main event singles person?
Oh, Edge and Christian. You could argue Roman Reigns, because he was like in the Shield. I know it was more of a stable than a tag team, but I mean, there's only three of them. I think it counts in many ways. God, there's so many. Even Cody Rhodes was part of Legacy for the longest time, which was a stable. Then it was a tag team. Then it was nothing. Yeah, there's a few of them in like Shawn Michaels and Jannetty is the one that comes out, springs to mind. Taker and Kane were single stars before they were a tag team. Yeah, there's a lot. Some can make the transitions and some can't. I think it depends on the person and the tag team. There's so many variables in there. I'm not so sure if a comparison between them and others works, if that makes sense, with there being so many different versions and tag teams and superstars.
Yeah, I feel like in terms of most recent, that it may be a good comparison is the Hardy Boys, and like Jeff Hardy was the kind of breakout out of him and Matt. Like Matt eked out a decent singles career and had some good feuds, but Jeff was the one that people really responded to in the sense of he is like a single star that was in a very successful tag team. Now maybe part of this is because of how successful the Usos actually have been. Like they are, if I'm not mistaken, one of, if not the most successful tag team in WWE, at least for a long time. They've had that like awesome kind of back and forward with New Day a few years ago, and they were the first tag team in a long time since WrestleMania 1 to main event a tag team match to main event at WrestleMania. So maybe it's a case of he was such a good tag team wrestler and successful that it's kind of damaging him to go in there. Mark's in, as always, our moderator. He says, does Brett / Owen count?
Definitely.
I guess they do. Yeah, they were in the Hart Foundation, so they were definitely in a team together. And then obviously brothers there as well, because as much as WWE tried to tell us, I don't think Undertaker and Kane can count as a sibling tag team.
Have you not read the backstory, Andy? Where Jacob Calloway, no, what was it, Mark? What the hell is he called? Glenn Jacob Calloway grew up in a funeral home. What are you talking about? They're not really brothers. I've read that piece of writing.
But yeah, I get like the one that everyone always talks about, as you mentioned, was Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Like that when they split up, and Shawn Michaels went on to be, what a lot of people would say is one of the greatest of all time. So as you say, it is possible. I just feel like they didn't ever have the same sustained success that the Usos had. But as you can see from this picture, one of the main things is like it's very difficult to say Jey Uso is not absolutely over. This is from WrestleMania, and being there on night one and seeing like the whole stadium doing his, like Yeet thing.
It was great.
It was amazing. Like just feeling that live, like I was blown away. And then we saw it in France, and the crowd really going for it there. And it's, as I say, it's continued into America. So everywhere he goes, he's getting the reaction. I just feel like personally, I'm missing a little bit of something to really like get behind him as this main event player. But
like, sorry, dude. Just did you finish your thought? Sorry.
No, go.
Yeah, I mean, the latest pay-per-view at Backlash, I didn't for a moment buy it because it felt to me that it was just WWE moving the chess pieces where they need to be moved. Like we needed Jey Uso to be involved in that match to essentially annoy McIntyre, to continue McIntyre's feud with not just Priest, but McIntyre's feud with Uso as well. So, and by the way, it's awesome that they are doing multi-layered feuds. By the way, it's no longer that guy and that guy, that guy and that guy. Now you can be feuding with multiple people at once, and it can be buying in. It can be like it's a spider web now rather than speed dating. But my point is, I never ever thought from a storyline point of view he was winning that. Okay, it was Backlash. It's the first pay-per-view after Mania, and not many titles changed hands on Backlash if they'd just changed at Mania. That's all. That's always a safe bet. But with Jey, it was more pronounced, and I feel like that really hurt that match for me because I was just waiting for McIntyre or Punk to interfere all the way through it. And,
I still feel like that was also part of that. Is I'm still not sold on Damian Priest being champion. Like I still feel like there's a bit of work that needs to be done there for him to really establish it.
You see, I feel like Jey Uso was a placeholder, and I feel like Priest. Like, here's the thing with Priest: he's won it by Money in the Bank. So Misfit is going to murder me for saying this, But it's the same with Io Sky. Because they won by Money in the Bank, it's not that it doesn't count, it totally counts. But they haven't won it in the way Roman Reigns won it, with taking down both Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, or the way Cody Rhodes won it, taking down Roman Reigns 3 years later. So they won it by not cheating, it's a legitimate way of winning, but it's the heels, cowards way to win. And everything McIntyre said to Priest the other night on Raw was absolutely right. So for me, where Priest is an excellent heel heavyweight champion, and it really is like elevating him is the right call. Just look at the guy; he's a star. But yeah, there's something not there yet. This might be the thing that gets him there, but I do think he's somewhat of a placeholder as well. But even him next to Jey Uso in this situation, I honestly felt Priest was the star, and Uso was just a fly he was going to swap until he moves on to the reckoning with McIntyre. That is seriously how I saw that.
Yeah, because they've got that. It was Drew was steering into it, wasn't he? Saying like the title makes the man, or the man makes the title, sort of thing. And he was saying like, for him, he is the star, and he can make that title work even more. Whereas Damien Priest is the opposite. So it is interesting to see that. So I think the other thing now is they seem to really have gone, people don't have to have short-term memory loss when it comes to feuds and being annoyed at people. As you say, like they've got this multi-layered thing that Drew's actually like, well, I'm still annoyed at Jey because I'm not getting over that anytime soon. And then you can call me paranoid, but that feeds into like this whole thing. And he jumped the queue, and I should have had a rematch because it was my title and he nicked it off me, and I'm still pissed off at Punk as well. So he's kind of got those three different like plates spinning at the same time. But good for Drew, because it means you're basically set for however long it plays out for now. So yeah, really interesting they've gone down that route. But this match, he went from having a title match, and now he's gone on to the semi-finals of King of the Ring, and he's going to have a match against Gunther. Now, do you see that playing out, that Gunther's going to carry on, or is there going to be some sort of hijinks, or like how does this play out? Because now they've got to try and make sure both guys look strong. And do you have a straight match, or do you have the shenanigans in it?
See, now I think WWE is deadly serious about pushing both Jey and Gunther. So it's a bit of an interesting scenario that they put them in. It's a great lineup. It's going to be a good match. I love both guys. But I kind of thinking they're going with Gunther for this because King of the Ring, or just, I don't know, it doesn't work necessarily better on a heel. But what we want is something to elevate Gunther and make him, I'd say, the final boss, but we've kind of lost that now to The Rock. They've bloody marketed that term.
Yeah, true.
But that they want Gunther losing the IC. It has stopped him. He was one of WWE's biggest final bosses, and he's not right now. So they need to find a way of doing that and making him that final boss again. And I think they're kind of building up to something with Gunther and Braun Strowman potentially at some point. I just think that'd be such a styles clash, two big, enormous guys, one a technical mastermind, another a big brawler. But
they had that match on SmackDown, and Gunther pulled a really good match out of Strowman, because it was one of those ones where you're like, oh, that's not Braun Strowman's kind of usual remit. He's more of a destroy. But they actually had a decent wrestling match. So
yeah. So I think Gunther's winning that one, because I do think Jey's going to get sucked back into this Bloodline stuff, and that look from Solo Sikoa on SmackDown, and then the look from Paul Heyman, that all feeds into it. So I do believe that they don't have to rush going there, but I do think that is where they are headed, where Gunther is clearly being. They want him to be the heir to Brock Lesnar, don't they? So King of the Ring is a great way to do that. I noticed they and I'm kind of glad about it. I've got mixed feelings. They didn't give us the Gunther Dragunov match, which is kind of a good thing because it means we can get it later down the line.
This is going to be the next question, because like I'm a big Dragunov guy. Like I've been looking to speak to him. He's very, very eloquent. Not like myself. And he when you speak about those matches, like they're still very fond on them. I've been able to ask both of them the question. I've always wanted to ask what was being said in that match in the BT studios, as they were back then, and they were screaming at each other in German, and stuff like that. And both of them were like, "We were so totally lost. I can't even remember what it was, but it just made sense in the moment." And I want them to be able to tell that story outside of King of the Ring. So I'm really glad they didn't put it in here as a throwaway Monday Night Raw match, but at the same time, I was really kind of disappointed to see Dragunov pick up the loss clean as well. Like, there's no shenanigans. He just lost clean.
His time will come. His time will come. Triple H is a smart dude. He knows where the big money match is there. He knows that's something that you can't just blow in instantly and it be done. That's a 6-month feud that culminates at WrestleMania. That is what that is. But they need to get to it. Oh no, mate! I bet my car on it. I bet my car on it. That is eventually where they're going to go with that. It might not be this WrestleMania coming. Might not be the one after, but that's happening. And we might be sat there. Who knows? It'd be good if we are. We'll be drunk by then.
Good to see Tombstoner Forever in. He says, "Nice to see you. Nice to see you on a Friday evening, which is still lovely weather. Where we are anyway, or where I am. Beautiful. So good to have you in. Let us know, Tombstone. Are you a fan of Jey Uso? Are you believing in this main event that he's got? Are you Yeet or no Yeet? That was the big debate across in Philly. There was people who shout Yeet, and then people would shout no Yeet.
That's funny.
So it was good, but again, their match bit lackluster. And then there's been a lot of quotes coming out because I think Jey Uso did a chat with Alistair for the Metro.
Oh, awesome! Did he?
Yeah, where he was talking about he did want Rikishi involved. He wanted their dad involved, and there was talk about maybe having him as a special guest referee. But then that's a lot of up and downs for what they were planning on doing, and they didn't know if he would be able to do it. But there is hopefully plans in place for the future. So maybe some sort of reconciliation where, Jimmy and Jay come back together and Rikishi can kind of facilitate that. Would be cool to see. But yeah, I am glad that we said, about Dragunov, and maybe we get the first of those matches at Bash at Berlin in that would be a cool one. So yeah.
I think you're right there. I think that might be where it begins. Because it'd be a bit daft not to, wouldn't it? The big Austrian and he's more of an adopted German, isn't he, Dragunov? He's actually Russian, but he's adopted via Dresden. So
and they both kind of are, I think, because obviously, like Gunther's Austrian, but he's always been well received in Germany because he did a lot of work in WXW, and the same with like Dragunov is very well versed in Germany.
Both WXW guys, both. Ringkampf guys, well, at least I think Dragunov feuded with Ringkampf rather than was in it.
I feel like Dragunov was he raised there, or one of his parents is German? I think he's part German, or he has a German passport.
He really?
I think I'm not 100% on that. But
he's defo a citizen. He's defo an EU citizen, 100%.
Yeah. Mark's bringing us some dirt sheet rumors, which I think is fairly well known that Owens' deal is up soon. So it would be interesting to see if Kevin Owens stays the course or moves across somewhere else.
Don't move across, Kev. Don't move across. You're good where you are.
I get the impression with Kevin Owens, a lot of it will be down to satisfaction of where his creative's going. I still think there's a lot he's never really had. And I spoke to Anth about this last week on the stream. I personally feel like there's a lot for him to give in the main event himself. I think hasn't really had a championship run for a long time, and one that he's due. And the last time his deal was up, he ended up getting a match against Stone Cold in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania. So,
I mean, talk about being made for life.
Yeah.
Speaking of Metro, by the way, guys, obviously Alistair is a friend of the channel and a friend of WrestleSphere. So, he's one of the top UK wrestling journos. So go check out Metro. Go check out that interview because I tell you it'll be a good one. So yeah, go and do that. And while you're there, check out WrestleSphere because there's some stuff coming. I've got 3 features I still need to write for WrestleSphere. I'm so behind, but I'll do it.
You and me both, man. It's one of those things like you want to tell the story and write the features, but it's just not enough time in the day, which is great because at least we get to kind of cover some of them off on a Friday night when we're talking on these Friday night features. But yeah, we're not going to make it a long one tonight because at the end of the day, we like having these kind of like chats that focus in on one particular subject. And to me, this week there is this kind of debate about Jey Uso and how far he can go. I will throw it out there. I personally feel like he'd make a great IC title holder. I know that's difficult because that's kind of like a loaded scene at the moment with the match coming up at King of the Ring, and you got Sammy and Chad and Big Bronson Reed as well. So yeah, very interesting one. Tombstone has weighed in with a comment that says a lot of guys who are mainly tag team players struggle to perform on their own.
It happens. Yeah, we've seen it. We have seen it. Like some guys are made for tag teams. They are. But some guys have some breakout time and can be solo stars. Like, here's what people forget: like, you can actually be both as well. You can be in a stable or in a tag team and still be a good solo star as well as being a tag team star.
It's like Kofi. Kofi's a good example of that.
Kofi's a great example because we had Kofi Mania, which was completely accidental, and he was only even in that position because they needed somebody who could physically do Mustafa Ali's spots in Elimination Chamber. That's why Cody Mania happened. Cody Mania was great. The second it ran out of time, it was fed to the altar of Brock Lesnar. Like so many other things. But yeah, you can be both. Like Jey Uso can be main event Jey Uso and have his own stuff going on. Like with McIntyre or whoever else, but he can still then transition away from that, being into a tag team with his brother against the Bloodline, and dip in and out. That can happen. So it never needs to be one or the other. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And there is that kind of like lurking feeling of something's going to happen with this new Bloodline versus old Bloodline. How does Jey feature into that? And obviously the return eventually, I'm presuming we'll see at some point of Roman coming back. And this is for Roman, it definitely feels like absence makes the heart grow fonder. His chants 100%. Are getting louder each week. And if they weren't planning on turning babyface, they're going to have to try and do that now because he's starting to get some big cheers. But let's face it, I think they're doing a great job on SmackDown where they're building up that new Bloodline into being someone that you don't want to root for, and then has that reverse effect for Roman. But Sam, we are going to start wrapping up.
Okie dokie.
Tonight, you've got an announcement about SmackDown, right?
Yeah. It's been a rough week, guys. I'm very tired. I'm a bit broken. I'm not ill or anything. I'm just a bit exhausted. Bit busy week. So I'd rather not give you a lackluster me on SmackDown tonight. I think it'd be better if I got some sleep and came back refreshed next week. Which I'm probably gonna lean into that way of doing things a little bit more at the moment because. The ante is being upped at work at the moment in terms of responsibility and in terms of what I've got to do. There's also a bunch of other things I've got to do. My gym schedule is bigger and harder than it's ever been. So I'm never not going to be the guy who wears this hat and not be the guy who turns up. I'm always going to turn up. But at this moment in time, you will see me on SmackDown more often than not, but I won't be tonight because let's be honest, let's imagine if it was on at 11 p.m. and finished at 1 a.m. that'd be fine. But sometimes the 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. thing, I already know I'm not going to be able to do. And tonight's one of them nights. I'm afraid my day to day has been I've been at this desk. I went out for tea, came back to this desk, so I'm ready for a couple of days off. If I'm being honest, sorry, mate, that went on a bit of a while, didn't it?
No, that's cool. There's a discussion going on in the comments as well about Ivar. Some reports that he's had a bad injury, but on his Twitter, on his official Twitter, he has put there's been a lot of misinformation floating around about me. Let me clarify. I think he means clarify. Yes, I am injured. Yes, it is very serious. No, I have not had surgery. Still trying to figure out all options and what this means for my future. That being said, I want to thank everyone for the outpouring of love and support, not only after finding out I was injured, but throughout the last several months. I have heard you all. No matter what happens, I owe it to everyone who ever believed in me to do everything I can to get back in that ring, under those lights, and in front of the most amazing fans on the planet. See you as soon as I can. So I don't think from that statement it's a work, but I would maybe just hold off and let WWE and Ivar communicate when they're ready to do so in terms of what that actually is. But we did see him recently on NXT, and he was getting involved in that side of things to try and get in with the North American title, which we did see one of Sam's favorite names come back. Mr. Wesley is back in NXT.
Great wrestler, crap name, awesome guy. Like, you know, I've interviewed a bunch of his mates. You know, they love him as well. I think he's a great wrestler. I just think whoever's in charge of the names at NXT right now needs to give their head a wobble.
Yeah, and fair play to him, because apparently he was supposed to be out for about a year, so he said on NXT, and he's back after 6 months. Had very serious back surgery, but seems to be able to sort of bounce back and already back in the ring. So welcome back, Wesley, and best of luck to Ivar in overcoming whatever his injury is as well there. But yeah, we're going to wrap up there. But let us know in the comments if you're watching this. It doesn't matter if you're watching this now, if you're watching this in the future. Let us know in the comments, if you haven't already, your thoughts on Jey Uso. Is he a main event superstar? Will he ever be in the upper echelon? We're not talking whether he'd be on a Mount Rushmore, because let's face it, if he is going to be on a Mount Rushmore, it'd be of tag teams. He'd been with a shout of doing that already. But can he fully establish himself as a main event superstar? So let us know in the comments. But I appreciate everyone who's been watching tonight, and if you're watching in the future, appreciate you as well. And we will see you really soon. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on both Wrestling Royalty and Give Me a Hell Yeah as well. That's the only way that you can keep up to date with when the streams are going live. As Sam mentioned as well, make sure you're following along on WrestleSphere, on Soundsphere. There's always great content on both channels and platforms. And look out for some exciting news that's coming up soon as well. So make sure you're subscribed, and you'll be one of the first to find out what that exciting news is, and how you can keep supporting the channel and us as well, as a team, individuals, everything. But really appreciate you being here. Have a lovely weekend. For now, though, he's been Sam, I've been Andy. This has been Gimme Hell Yeah and Wrestling Royalty. Have a good weekend, guys.